morning, when most people are logging into their computers and checking voicemail, Janet D'Artois is hitting the streets, canvassing for what doesn't match Torrance's vision of environmental quality.
We do a lot here in the city. We want to present a clean feel for the city.
As one of the city's 8 environmental quality control officers, she monitors residential neighborhoods, commercial developments, and construction sites to make sure they're adhering to the city's municipal codes and aesthetic standards.
You'll see with a lot of our commercial sites, the signage is uniform.
When back in the office, her focus shifts to reviewing commercial and residential plans for new development and renovation projects.
Looks like some remodel going on a single-family residence where they're going to be creating an ADU as well. And we're going to be checking out these setbacks because they do have a patio cover. This is an example of a property with some overgrown vegetation. The bulk of our job is following up on complaints from residents here in the city, and those can go from property maintenance, overgrown vegetation, trash, debris, just hoarded out conditions, cars parked on the lawn. This is obviously a hoarder situation, and this is what it looks like after a little assistance from the city, because sometimes our residents just need a little bit of help, and that's what we're here to do with them.
Take a listen around Torrance and pay attention not to what you hear, but to what you don't hear. A big part of D'Artois' job is noise abatement, both here at the airport and around the city.
That's an aircraft, so this is what we listen for. This is the distinction between what sounds we're listening for and what sounds we're not listening for. And this aircraft went over one of our noise monitors, and he was within our allowable levels. So he's perfect, he's good to go.
And if you're not in compliance, you typically have 15, 30, or 60 days to get there, or receive a follow-up call or visit from D'Artois.
Environmental, this is Jana.
But for D'Artois, it's all part of her mission of keeping Torrance looking beautiful.
I get to see the city. I get to see how the city develops, and I get to drive through and I see projects, and I've worked on that plan. I'm like, oh hey, I helped with that. I love getting to see that come up in the city.
And thanks to D'Artois' work, Torrance shines a little brighter. For Torrance City Cable, Colleen Farrell.
Oh, thank you.
It was a socially distanced gathering to honor a century of life well lived. Mass, family, and friends came together to honor the birthday girl, Mary Mahoney Campazzi, born September 15, 1920, in Buffalo, Kentucky, 100 years ago.
You don't have to be so loud about it.
But others disagreed, delivering honks and cheers to this great-grandmother and World War II veteran who served her country as a second lieutenant Army nurse officer. For 2 years, she cared for paralyzed soldiers sent to the Army hospital at Fort Reed in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
She had a night shift for a long time and would care for the men, and a lot of them would get letters from the States, from family members, and she would help write them letters to answer, but mainly to get good care and hopefully get them better so they could go back home.
While serving active duty, Mary Mahoney met her husband, Army First Lieutenant Joseph Campazzi, also stationed at the base. The couple married at the base chapel. Soon after, the newlyweds boarded a train for California. They bought this home in Torrance in 1951, where they would raise 7 children. Mary still lives there today. While Campazzi contributed to the war effort, caring for hundreds of wounded soldiers, the role she's most noted for among her friends and family is that of mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother during her 70 years here in Torrance.
Mema. She's Mema. She's always been Mema, not Grandma.
We respect her so much, and like all of the stories she told throughout our childhood, nothing but proud. I'm one of the 6 granddaughters, and I know that we all look to her as the matriarch of the family and somebody very strong. It's been a rough year, but this has been definitely a highlight, something to look forward to.
So what's Campazzi's secret for longevity, you may ask?
You don't give your secrets away.
Maybe not all, but we're told eating healthy, getting plenty of sleep, and faith in God are pillars the nurses live by. along with a positive attitude.
As an individual growing up during the Depression, you know, she did without a lot, didn't complain, always taught us the bright side of everything.
But one thing that's no secret, it's been a life surrounded by love. For Torrance City Cable, Colleen Farrell.
Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Torrance, California does hereby commend, honor, and congratulate Leroy J. Jackson for his dedication, professionalism, and contributions to the City of Torrance.
A virtual standing ovation for a man whose legacy withstands 54 years of commitment and service to the city of Torrance.
We are deeply impacted by what Leroy Jackson has given to us. He just has a work ethic that has no ends. He will be here early in the morning to late at night and leads by example. And it's not just an example, as I said, to the employees, but also to the elected officials and also to the community.
Jackson, who moved to Torrance in the mid-1960s with his wife Connie, both from Ridgecrest, California, built not only a legacy for the city, but roots in Torrance, raising 6 children through the decades.
But somehow we fell in love with Torrance, and Leroy in particular grew deep, deep roots. And I am never going to get him out. He started, he didn't have any desk, so he stood at a file cabinet in personnel. And he read all the folders. And that got him a lot of knowledge that helped him immensely in the following years to come.
Hi, I'm Leroy Jackson. I'm city manager of the city of Torrance. Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, or we tend to take action and then ask for input. But we'd ask that you open the matter up, you encourage citizen or employee input, counting on which commission it is, and you listen to that input before you take action.
Jackson began as a personnel analyst in 1966, eventually working his way up to city manager in 1983. Serving 37 years in that role, he is only the 4th CEO to lead the city, helping to maintain its core values, traditions, and shaping a community that touts nearly 150,000 residents, close to 2,000 employees, and an operating budget of more than $330 million. During his tenure, Jackson has worked with 8 mayors, countless department heads, and has become a wealth of knowledge and resource to the community. Many call him the boss, but more affectionately, their friend and mentor.
There was always opportunity to grow, not necessarily big promotions and what have you, but mentally in assignments. And I did enjoy working for Leroy, and that's when you enjoy where you work, and who you work for, that's a blessing.
Working for Leroy personally, sitting within 10 feet of his desk for 20 years has been my honor. I couldn't have asked for a better mentor, friend, confidant when I'm struggling with something, with either a work product or family. I bounce the ideas off of him that I'm having, or I just go in and vent, and he lets me. He always has a clever thought, and he somehow always turns it around that if I went in crying, I come out laughing, and I come out stronger.
When I think about how Leroy has managed crisis and how he's actually made us stronger through crisis, number one is he understands his people and he allows them to be the best at what they do. So in times of crisis, Leroy pauses and says, who's the right person to handle this and this and this? And he sets expectations and then he gets out of their way. I would say the other attribute that Leroy demonstrates that has allowed us to weather storms is he is people first. He is constantly thinking about the individual, whether it's individual employees or the individuals in the community. His decisions reflect this awareness that while we can make sterile and numbers-based decisions, those decisions ultimately impact people, and that's what's in the forefront of his mind as we move forward and make decisions in difficult situations.
He has a way of rationalizing it that's uncanny. I would say that recommendation makes no sense to me. And he would somehow be able to draw either from another project or draw from a personal insight or explain it based on what was going on in current events. And so you would leave saying, oh, that's why they went that way. He was very good at that, at making you feel like once the recommendations came in, we had to implement them the best way we could and that they made sense. And Leroy is very genuine. He doesn't pretend to be anyone he's not. He doesn't try to fit what would be a perception of a CEO, or he doesn't want to fit into what is the fashion statement of the day. Leroy enjoys his boots, enjoys his suits, enjoys that his wife cuts his hair, and that's Leroy.
Jackson has always had a deep appreciation for history, many referring to him as a walking encyclopedia of Torrance. And over the course of his time leading Torrance to become fiscally sound, safe and secure, and one of the most desired cities to work and live in, he's held his position with modesty, transparency, and integrity. Jackson has always held dear to him the values of working as a public servant, imploring the ideal that all city employees are custodians of something truly special.
He chose a kind of department head that reflected his values, and I think that those values will continue through the executive staff, and I think those values are important to the city, to the community, as well as to the electeds.
You know, Leroy's wrote a lot of chapters in the history of Torrance, and when time comes, years to come, they will have a big place in that book for Leroy's incredible leadership, all these things, including this field that's behind us. Leroy was instrumental in making staff get involved in this, but he did that with so many other things. There's so many things that I know that Leroy, just leaving the city and feeling to himself, he didn't get it all done. And I have to tell him that he's done an incredible job. So I want him never to feel that he didn't accomplish all the things he thinks he could have done.
Leroy has shaped our city. And even though he's leaving, we have the Leroy legacy. So he's built a framework which has shaped our city. He has people in place. People know the Torrance way. And it's through this way that we will continue going forward, and we will always be moving in the right direction because that's the foundation that he laid for us. So he will still be here.
And in that foundation, the balance of work and family life has always been a top priority, never missing a moment in any of his 6 children's special events at school, as a father, and now as a grandfather and great-grandfather.
He always put family first, and I think I know that he encouraged us to do the same. And you know, the city will be there after you take care of your family. And so I think he found a good balance between taking care of the family and running a big and productive city like the city of Torrance.
I've been here 20 years with them. I hope to be here for another extended period of time. I said, you're going to have a 100-year impact on this community. And that's unique. I think it's unheard of.
During Jackson's last virtual meeting as city manager, a man who is known to shy away from the spotlight was the center of much-deserved attention as many tuned in to watch and listen. Jackson shared heartfelt thank yous with the mayor and city council, along with his executive team for their support through the years.
Mayor and council, I thank you so much for these years you've allowed me to serve this city and for all of the opportunities open to me. Connie and I have had our lives and our careers so intertwined with Torrance. It is a part and parcel to who we are. Our first son was born just 3 days after my first day with the city. Each of our 6 children became part of the City Hall. I've deeply enjoyed my career with the city and have been blessed with knowing and being mentored by Edward J. Ferrero, my predecessor, and being part of his executive staff. All the department heads I work with, Jack McKinnon, Chief Lucas and Smonaker, Chief Koenig, Glenn Kirkruff, Harry Van Bellum, and others, each helped me along the way, voices from the past. There also has been my staff, Liz Rojas, Dan McLean, Kathy Keene, Brian Sunshine, Michael Smith, Ellie, Dom, Jay, Katie, Jill, Zelma, Kathy, and Kim, and so many others now and across the years. They were and are the hard-working team that made this office of city manager and me shine. I'm so proud of the organization I have managed. The city family met all challenges and constantly served council and our citizens through tough years and good, through crisis and opportunity, and through ever-happening challenges. The last 6 months have been proof in the pudding of their ability to step up to cyber, COVID, civil unrest, and financial crisis. With Rom, this team will carry you and the community in and through the challenges of the future. As always, I share with you how much of who I am is family. My spirited partner, Connie, my children have all been and are part of who I am. And so, I close wishing all of Torrance the best and knowing the best is yet to come. Thank you.
While traditional retirements of this nature would allow for hugs, handshakes, and group photos, this year's pandemic limited the social interaction that would have otherwise held a standing room only for the outgoing city manager. The council surprised Jackson by dedicating his last day on the job as Leroy Jackson Day in the city of Torrance.
Mr. Jackson, on behalf of my colleagues on the council, the 7 mayors, elected mayors that preceded me, and all the elected officials that have served with you, and I say it with you, congratulations. But at this time, my colleagues and I have a surprise proclamation that we would like to present to Mr. Jackson. To hereby proclaim September 30th, 2020 as Leroy J. Jackson Day in the city of Torrance. And I ask the entire community to join in this celebration as we applaud Leroy's 54 years of continuous service and 37 years as city manager. On behalf of the city council, we wish Leroy the very best in his retirement. Presented this 22nd day of September 2020.
He leaves a legacy that's unique to the individual. I think everyone has a unique perspective about his legacy. The one that strikes me the most, that's personal to me, is his small town, aw shucks personality that he brings to a very, very important position. Why that is such a legacy for me is because there's a humility that he carries in everything that he does, and that humility is a thread in the decisions he makes. It takes the ego out of it and boils it down to what's truly important.
Aside from Jackson's famous cowboy boots and gentle disposition, his legacy and profound impact on Torrance will be written in the history books for many generations to know.